Late October afternoon, London sky is darker than usual. In the small apartment near Notting Hill, Caitriona Balfe sits quietly in the armchair by the window, holding a cup of warm ginger tea, but her mind is more troubled than ever. In front of her, a pregnancy test is placed on a white silk scarf, two bright red lines whispering a big secret that she is not ready to tell. Caitriona is pregnant with Sam. Her heart sinks every time she thinks about his reaction. Sam loves children, she knows that. He used to joke, "One day, I will have a small football team named Heughan running around the house." But the reality is different when that moment comes sooner than they expected. They have been married less than 2 months. The filming schedule for the final season of Outlander is entering its peak phase. Film projects, award ceremonies, contract commitments are still waiting for them ahead. And now, a tiny being was growing inside her, both a miracle and a challenge. She looked at her phone screen, where a half-written text message to Sam had appeared. "I need to talk to you. Something really important." She deleted it, retyped it, deleted it again. Nothing seemed to be enough to convey the emotions that were swirling inside her. That evening, Sam returned from a press conference for the My Peak Challenge charity campaign. He walked in with his usual bright smile, his eyes shining, but when he saw Caitriona's tense face, his smile faltered. "Are you okay?" he asked, putting down his bag and walking quickly to her. Caitriona nodded slightly, then shook her head. Her eyes were glistening with tears, and Sam immediately squeezed her hand in his. "You scared me," Sam whispered. "What happened?" She took a deep breath, then gently placed his hand on her belly, a small movement, but enough to make time stand still. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We're having a baby." For a few seconds, Sam was completely still. His eyes were fixed on hers, as if to make sure this wasn't a joke. "Are you serious?" Caitriona nodded, her eyes never leaving his. She waited, perhaps the longest moments of her life, for a response, whether of joy or worry. Sam suddenly burst into laughter, a full-throated laugh, and hugged her tightly, almost choking. "Oh my God, you just gave me the most wonderful thing in the world," he whispered into her hair. "I'm going to be a father." Tears welled up in her eyes, not from fear, but from relief. She had kept this to herself for almost a week, struggling with the fear that she might mess it all up. But Sam, as always, was the one who kept things steady. A week later, they went to the hospital together for their first ultrasound. Caitriona lay on the bed, Sam sitting beside her, holding her hand. As the image flickered onto the screen, a tiny heartbeat, they both fell silent. "That's our baby," Caitriona whispered. Sam said nothing, just leaned down and kissed her lightly on the forehead. In that moment there was no more fame, no more movies, just two people embarking on the biggest journey of their lives together. However, things weren't quite as smooth as they'd dreamed. The pregnancy had a huge impact on Caitriona's schedule. She had to cancel an independent film she'd been excited about, and she had to adjust the entire Outlander schedule. Many of the crew were worried, and some of the producers even expressed their displeasure, though they didn't dare say so publicly. Caitriona felt guilty. She had never been one to cause trouble, but now she was at the center of a decision that would change everything. Some nights she would lie awake for hours, tears soaking into her pillow, not daring to wake Sam. And then one day she confessed it to him, in the kitchen, lit up in the middle of the night. "I feel like I've ruined everything, Sam," she said, her voice hoarse. "I'm not sure I can do both, be a mother and an artist." Sam sat across from her, not answering right away. He poured her a glass of water, then said softly, "You're an extraordinary woman, Kate. And don't let anyone, not even you, doubt that. You're not ruining anything. You're creating a miracle." He continued, firmly, "I'm here, not just as your husband, but as your partner every step of the way. We're going to raise this child, and each other's dreams." Those words were like a ray of light piercing the fog in Caitriona's heart. She leaned her head on his shoulder, letting the tears fall, this time not out of insecurity, but because she knew she was no longer alone. A few months later, when the news of Caitriona's pregnancy was confirmed in an interview with Vanity Fair, the media around the world exploded. Fans were ecstatic, and many of her co-stars and directors who had worked with her also spoke out in praise of the bright and brave mother-to-be. At the premiere of a fashion event in Milan, when asked about Sam's reaction to the news, Caitriona smiled, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Oh, it wasn't easy. I wrote and deleted dozens of messages to him. I didn't know how to say it without making him panic, and without making myself cry before I could even open my mouth." The audience burst into laughter. But she continued, more seriously, "The truth is, there is no perfect time to be a parent. But when you love the right person, any time can be magical." Sam, hearing these words on the television, just smiled. He knew they were starting a new chapter, not just in their personal lives, but in how they defined love, responsibility, and maturity. The night before the birth, as they both lay in the hospital bed, Caitriona held Sam's hand and said, her voice a whisper, "I still remember the day I first told you we were going to have a baby. I thought my heart would break from fear." Sam chuckled, pressing his lips to her hand. "And now you're going to be a mother. A mother I'm sure our child will be proud of for the rest of their lives." Caitriona nodded, her eyes closing. In the quiet darkness of the delivery room, amid the smell of antiseptic and the dim lights, love is growing, silent, steady and eternal. The rapid thump of Caitriona's heartbeat echoed from the bedside monitor. The contractions were so strong that Caitriona's brow furrowed, beads of sweat forming on her forehead despite the air conditioning. Sam sat close to her, his hand never leaving hers, his gaze both worried and determined. "You're doing great, Kate. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere," Sam whispered, his lips almost touching her temple. Caitriona nodded slightly. Despite her exhaustion, there was pride in her eyes. She had been through so much, decades in the business, hundreds of emotionally intense roles. But nothing could compare to this moment. The knowledge that she was about to give birth to a part of herself, and the man she loved. When the doctor announced, "It's time," Sam squeezed her hand, his gaze falling for a moment as if the world had held its breath. The next few hours passed like a whirlwind of emotions. Screams, gasps, soft encouragement. And then, suddenly, a sound that tore through the tense air. The first cry. A baby boy. Eyes half closed, skin wrinkled, voice full of power, ready to conquer the world. Sam was stunned. The nurse gently placed the baby in Caitriona's arms, and when her tired eyes met Sam's red ones, they both burst into tears. "You did it," Sam whispered, his lips trembling. "I can't believe it. Our baby." He leaned down to kiss the baby's forehead, then his wife's. The emotion was overwhelming. A new life had begun, with love, because of love. "What are we going to name him?" Caitriona asked, her eyes never leaving the little angel in her arms. Sam was silent for a moment, then said, "Do you remember the name we joked about when we were filming season 3? Finn. I said, if we had a son one day, I would like that name." Caitriona chuckled softly, touched. "Finn Heughan. It sounds so warm." Both of them looked down at baby Finn, lying in his mother's arms, breathing evenly. At that moment, all the worries, pressures, and fame disappeared. In that bright white room, there was only the most pure love, between two people who had overcome all doubts, all prejudices, to finally become a family.